Oh, hey, what's up, you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I'm going to be showcasing you guys a brand new Mathmech deck that I have been testing for this upcoming format. And I know it's kind of weird to do a deck profile right before a ban list that we're probably going to get sometime next week if we're lucky, but I wanted to go ahead and show you guys the cards that basically came out from Cyberstorm Access, stuff that basically just makes this deck go around. And yeah, the deck has been a lot of fun. Circular is just a busted card, even though I still think that this card should be hit in some way, shape, or form. This deck has been really good. I've been enjoying playing it at locals, and now with the new support that we got, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my first draft of it. I haven't taken it to a local yet, but this is just my first take on Mathmech. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the deck profile. So starting off with the main deck, we are on 3 copies of Mathmech Circular. Again, this is the card that basically just makes the whole deck go around, because, get it? Circular. Card is really nuts for the decks. Being able to send for cost a Mathmech card to the graveyard to summon it from your hand, not being a waste of your normal summon, is really good. And then also the other effect is when a Mathmech card is special summoned while you control this card, you can add a Mathmech spell or trap, basically getting you to the super factorial for your turn 1. But card is nuts. Definitely the reason to play the deck right now. We are also on 2 copies of Mathmech Sigma. This is what you're sending most of the time. Mathmech Sigma basically just being able to be an extender. You send it to the graveyard off of the circular being on the field as well, of course, but then Sigma being able to special summon it out, triggering the circular, and then when this card leaves the field, the turn you use that effect, it gets banished, but since you use it to make Alimbertion most of the time, you basically still have it in the graveyard for follow-up. But this card's really good. You only need 2 of it. It's not too crazy good, but it's still good to play at least 2 of. 2 Diameter. I see people play 3 of this a lot, but now with the new support from Cyberstorm Access, you definitely want to be playing 2. You could try 1 if you want to. I don't really like 1 so far during the testing. I think 2 has been just fine, but I do like this card. Being able to just summon a Mathmech from the graveyard to keep extending, keep link climbing is really good. This is like your main normal summon that you would want to use other than the firewall, but also if you Xyz summon a monster, the turn you use this as a material, it gains a effect negation as well, so that's really good. But only 2 Diameter. Next, we are on 1 copy of Mathmech Nabla. What this one does is that it basically is a lone fire. You get to summon a Mathmech monster from the deck. Really good, so can't complain. And then 1 Subtraction. I don't really think you need multiples of this. I don't think you need to play like addition or anything. Arguably, you could cut this if you really wanted to, but I just wanted to have an extra name just in case. But Subtraction is really good. It's just an extra name that you need. So we are on 9 Mathmech monsters, no more, no less. I think this is like a really good lineup. Granted, you could not play Subtraction if you want to. If you prefer addition, you can, or you could play like a 3rd Diameter if you want to, but I just think having the 1 Subtraction is really good. So 9 Mathmechs. Next for the main deck, we are on 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. This card is busted with the deck. Basically, the whole deck is Cybers. They have a lot of effects that lock you into summoning only Cybers for the turn, but that doesn't matter when your whole deck is Cybers, so that's really good. But this card's nuts. Being able to just help you extend, helps you play past Nibiru as well. Card is just amazing all around. And then for the new cards, we are on 3 copies of Firewall Defensor. Basically what this card does is that when it is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can special summon a Firewall monster from the main deck out to the field. And then it's also a level 4, so if you use this with like Link Disciple, you can make an instant Alimbertion just off of 1 card, but you mainly use this for extending. Again, like since you don't need your normal summon too much in this deck, you can go ahead and just use this to extend if you get hit by like a Nibiru or something, but it's mainly there to help you set up your new Firewall Dragon for your end board. But this card's really good. And then the targets that we use are Firewall Guardian and Firewall Phantom. Guardian being able to just revive itself when it's sent to the graveyard as link material, and then Firewall Phantom being able to search you a cyber spell or trap card. So really good cards. Just 5 firewalls. I feel like that's really good. Don't really need more, don't need less. You could arguably cut a Guardian for another Phantom, but I really like the 1-1 split. I think it's just too good not to play. And then the main reason to play this deck, we are on 3 copies of Sideframe Gamma, with the driver, of course, being the best hand trap. You have to play 3 Gamma this format. I just feel like it's just too good not to play. You will get hit by draw. This deck kind of has a really bad problem with draw. This is also really good against Super Heavy Samurai. It's really good against Palladium, and of course it's amazing in the mirror match. But You mainly want to have Gamma just so that way you don't get caught by any funny business. This card is really too good not to play. 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Same reasoning. I feel like you have to play this card this format. It's just too good not to play. 3 Ash, and then 2 Ghost Ogre. You could play 3 if you want. I have seen builds play 3, but I feel like just playing 2 is fine. And then 2 copies of Effect Veiler as well. So that's it for the hand trap ratios. I mean, like, we are on 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like 15 hand traps in the main deck. I have seen people play more, and as much as you have 1-card starters in this deck, there are still turns where you don't see any of them. So you don't want to break yourself too much on hand traps, but they are still good and essential for the deck nonetheless. For the spell lineup, we are on 3 copies of Signet Mining, basically being able to help you search any of your Cybers cards. And then we are also on 3 copies of Small World. Card is nuts. Again, just being able to help you search for Circular or help you get to the Firewall, but you're mainly getting to the Circular every time with these cards. And then just some 1-up spells. I play 1 Talents, 1 Called By, and 1 Equation. Granted, you can cut these 2 cards for 2 more hand traps if you want. Like, you could play like a 3rd Veiler, you could play a 3rd Ogre if you want, or you can also fit room for Nibiru in the main deck, which I'm not playing. It's really just self-preference, but I mean, you have to play the Equation, that's a must, but these 2 cards are just like random flex spots. I wanted to have the Call by the Grave just in case, because there are going to be a lot of hand traps in this upcoming format. And then again, same thing with Talents, is that I wanted to make sure that I wasn't losing to a bunch of hand traps, and if I was getting hand traps, I was going to be getting the biggest benefit out of it. So that's it for the spells. And then we're only on 2 traps, just 1 Super Factorial and 1 Signet Conflict. You have to play these cards, I think, especially if you're playing the Neo Tempest Firewall. You have to play the Signet Conflict because it just helps you get there. And then Super Factorial is Super Factorial. That's it for the main deck. No more, no less. We are at 42. Again, I want to try and cut the deck down to 40 cards, but it's just so hard because you have to fit so many cards into this deck. It is a really tight squeeze, but you probably can get it down to 40 if you really want to, but just for the first draft, I am just rocking with 42 cards. It doesn't feel incorrect to play, but again, I just really think that 40 or like 41 is like the magic number, but we're just going to rock it at 42 for now. And then lastly, the extra deck. We are on the 1 copy of Alimbertion and then 1 copy of Laplation. You could play multiple Alimbertions if you want. I am playing a few texts into the extra deck, so if you wanted to go ahead and take those, feel free to take those. But if you want to play a second Alimbertion, you can, but you can always recycle this one back also off of the Firewall Photon, I think, or the Firewall Phantom, whichever one it is. You can recycle this back so that way you can have it for your next turn for follow-up if you need it. But if you want to play 2, go ahead, but just remember it's always recyclable. And then Laplation, just being a like great value Trishula, is always good as well. This is like your main summon off of the Super Factorial because we don't play Sigma. Why would you? And then for links, we are on the 1 Lingaribo, of course, and then we're on 1 Link Spider. Again, these are just first drafts of it. I don't know if I'm going to be playing the Link Spider going forward, but you need it basically in case you get hit by a Nibiru. It's just really good for recurability, but right now we're just playing the 1. Cybers Wicked, I've seen people cut this card from their list, and I understand why. I'm still just testing it. Still just testing the waters just to see what kind of ratios I like, what kind of cards I like. But so far, the Wicked has been fine for me. 1 Yugioh and Crystal Heart. This card has also been really good. This basically just helps it to where you can play past Nibiru, being able to use this to revive back your Transcode Talker, and then you basically just have a access code to win for game. Update Jammer, cards busted. I mean, pairing it with the Splash Mage, there's no way you like lose off of this if you go uninterrupted, of course, but these are just mainstays in any cyber strategy, I feel, so you have to play 1-on-1 at least. Transcode Talker. Transcode is just probably the best card in the extra deck, just being able to just help you keep recurring cards back. You have multiple ways of getting it back as well. Card's really busted because you can use it turn 1 and for your follow-up for when you're going to game. It's a really great card all around, so you have to play it. 1 Decode Talker Heat Sold. Card's nuts. Being able to just help you draw cards during your turn and your opponent's turn is just so good. And of course, why wouldn't you want to play it? And then also with your end board, when you have this in the Signet Conflict, you basically get a draw 2 off of the Heat Soul and then an Omni Negate with a Signet Conflict. So that's just so busted. So 1 Heat Soul. We are on double copies of Access Code Talker, basically because you need the second one. If this gets stopped and then you don't have a way of killing past that, then you're kind of screwed. So you just make a second one and basically just go from there. So you definitely need the double access code. It does come up. We are on one copy of Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid. This card is actually really good. Basically what it does is that it's a quick effect to where you can send a cyber sponsor from your extra deck to the graveyard. So your two targets being the Aggregator and the Cyber's Evasive Worm. And then it gains 2500 attack, and I believe it's permanent. But it also changes the attribute, but that doesn't really come up because, well, they're dark. But you basically use this to send these to the graveyard. When this is sent to the graveyard, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls and negate its effects. And then when this one is sent to the graveyard, you can basically use it as an infinite impermanence. Just really good interactions. It basically makes it to where you can negate a spell, negate a spell and negate a monster effect depending on the turn. You can use this during your opponent's turn, so it's like really good that way. And then this one just on send will be able to just be a negate. So yeah, I guess that's gonna go ahead and do it for the deck profile. It was again, a big work in progress. It's just something that I've been toying with for the upcoming format. Changes are probably gonna happen to it depending on this next ban list whenever we get it, or if we even get one. But I really do like this deck. I like the versatility of it. I feel like it is really good for people that are like starting to learn the game. It's something good for just like the upcoming format. Again, like I said, being able to play around stuff like Super Heavy Samurai, playing around like Kashtira, if that even stays till the next format. But yeah, that's really going to go ahead and do it for the deck profile, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, this has been Papa, and I will catch you all in my next video. Take care, everyone.